It is episode number 018 of the Open Heart Collective. I'm happy. I am excited. I am a little intimidated tonight because my special guest is an absolute beast of a human being, Mr. Josh Levin. Josh, tell the people who you are.
I am one of those kinds of people, right? So now currently, I always say that because what I'm most known for now is I run a commercial electric company called Empowered Electric, which is gaining traction galore every day in the Kansas City area. That's where I'm from, Kansas City, Missouri. Becoming a contractor that people want to use, not have to use, people want to work for, not have to work for. When you ask 25 of our electricians if they want to be electricians, if they want to work here, they answer, hell yeah. We focus on people more than profit, and dude, it has been powerful. But before that, when I say I was one of those kinds of people, it's because I came from a past filled with child abuse, child neglect, poverty, addiction, went to 5 schools in 2 years, went to 30 schools before high school, failed, 4 classes my 8th grade year, not because I didn't take academics seriously, but whenever it's either study or survive, you always default to survival. So in every stretch of the imagination, my DNA was one of victim, tragic, going down this path that was chosen for me. And we were able to break that cycle, which, flash forward, spoiler alert, that's what has, the name Empowered Electric has so much to do with, about empowering people, not letting your past. Yeah. So that's in a nutshell who I am.
Nice. Well, I mean, I've been intrigued by you for several months, years now, because they're not years, because we haven't been connected that much, but because you just kind of, I mean, I'm not in Kansas City, right?
Yep.
I'm not in the electrical space, although my one of my brothers is. I mean, it's like out of absolute nowhere, you kind of appeared, and you're doing something that it is so groundbreaking, yet so everyday that we always see it, and you're telling such a compelling narrative for people in your field. Like, you should be looked up to by anybody coming up in the game right now, because what you're doing, nobody else is doing. Or if they are, they're late to the game and they're following in your footsteps.
Yeah. No, I appreciate that.
And until you shared with me a little bit via email or via, I think it was IG, about your past, I didn't know that that's where you came from.
Oh, yeah. So, and it's been fun because it's always interesting. So we kind of are, it's funny, I'm a construction company, and in every stretch of the imagination, the thought of running a construction company for the rest of my life makes me want to puke. Like, I want nothing to do with it. Not because I'm not passionate about it. It's just the whole idea is the people first.
Right.
And because when I look back on my story, honestly, it was a 4th grade teacher that rocked my world, and a 5th grade teacher, and a high school coach, and an ex-girlfriend's parents that, kind of always were saying, like, hey, are you sure you're trying hard enough? And there's multiple stories that go on with that, but it's interesting to, as I go to these like high schools and stuff, to like tell people, hey man, you don't have to be what people think you are. It's just it's such a cliche thing, like, don't let your past define you. So but it's true. So
right.
Yeah.
Well, and that's what this is all about. For those of you who are watching an episode for the first time or listening to an episode for the first time, and you don't know what the Open Heart Collective is. The Open Heart Collective is a mission that was started back originally in 2013. The mission of that at the time was, or the process of it at the time was, we were creating an online book. This was a book similar to like Facebook, I guess, if you want to look at it like that, where I would go in and I read my story. Josh, you could go in and write your story. Tony could go in and write his. Rowan could go write hers. Like, all these people could go in there and write their stories, because I know my story doesn't always resonate with somebody or leave an impact on somebody's life, but your story can resonate with someone else. And then that led
Yeah.
into this podcast in March. I was going to do all this month of mental health awareness because alliteration, and
Yeah.
then it quickly became something more.
Yeah. Well, I think, I appreciate that because what's interesting is I think
Oh, we're frozen a little bit.
are yours.
I think we're good.
Are you
I'm
there?
just not gonna. I'm here. I'm here.
Something's going weird. Can you hear me? Am I breaking up?
I can hear you, but
But I'm
you're slow on
freezing.
the move. Yeah.
Okay. Hmm.
It can be fixed in editing. We're good.
Still
We're good.
still slow. Okay.
We're good.
So I guess like for me, man, what's interesting is I think like a lot of our stories are the same. Like we see something, we're told something, we believe something. Me, man, at a young age. So my mom got pregnant with me when she was in high school. She was 16 years old. Well, she was 15 years old when she got pregnant, 16 when she had me. My dad was 17, and typical story of didn't want to be looked at as a slut, a hoe, all that kind of stuff. Dropped out of school, got kicked out of her house. Kind of had a tragic, situation where I come into the world. Um, my dad was a 17-year-old, kid and didn't really know how to step up to the plate. And so they ended up splitting up. And I wish like my story would have just like that would have been the worst decision my mom had made, was, getting knocked up at a young age, but she just continued to spiral out of control. And I think by the time of fifth grade, I had, three stepdads and they were extremely abusive and drug users, heavily drug users. It's funny, like we were so poor, we couldn't afford to keep the water on, to keep the electricity on. I remember being at a young age learning how to put a meter socket in that we had bought from a pawn shop. Because the utility company, when they killed
Right.
power, they pulled a meter, and we would buy one from a pawn shop and put it in at nighttime, and learned how to turn the water on and things like that. And I was told like survival was the best you could do. It wasn't thrive, it wasn't succeed, it wasn't school. And they would always have money to go out and party on Fridays and get super drunk, and they always had money to buy dime sacks and whatever else they wanted to do, but not money to pay for food, not money to get us out of the ghetto, all that kind of stuff. Very low income housing. And honestly expect handouts all the time, which was crazy. So don't work hard, because when it comes down to it, somebody else will buy you Christmas presents off the Christmas tree at the mall. DFS will, pay for insurance, things like that. So I saw this really weird, you know, dilemma of, this is who I was going to be. And I mentioned a teacher in fourth grade. There was this teacher, Mrs. Burke, my fourth grade teacher. I went there about halfway through the year. And I remember I really liked her because she was cute. That's what I remember from fourth grade.
Oh, always a good thing in fourth grade.
But I remember we watched The Lion King, and I grew up without knowing my dad. I didn't meet my dad till I was 17, and I had all these abusive stepdads. And we watched The Lion King, and that scene when Mufasa dies, dude, I just started like tearing up.
I
dude.
thought you were going to do the lift up one.
No. When the dad dies, and I start tearing up, and she like called me out to the hallway real quick. And, so I didn't get made fun of by the other kids, because, she could tell something was going on. And later on that year, she didn't ask for a permission slip. She didn't ask my parents' approval. She literally just said, hey, this Saturday I'm running a 5K. I bought you a ticket. I want you to come run this 5K with me. And she came to my house, picked me up. I went out with her and her boyfriend, and she said, okay, let's run. And I didn't train. I was in fourth grade, and we're running along. And I, every once in a while I'd want to stop or whatever. And she'd be like, no, keep running. Let's go. And we ran the whole thing. And at the end, she was like, hey, did you think you could run that far? And I was like, no. And she said, did you think you could run that fast? I said, no. And she said, don't ever let someone else dictate your expectations of how far and how fast you can go. Like, I remember this like it was yesterday, partially because it had such an impact on me, her saying like, you can be better. And she took me out for donuts and chocolate milk afterwards, so it was pretty cool. And then in fifth grade, so, I'm seeing stuff, I'm getting taught stuff. And in fifth grade, my teacher, Mr. Pepic, took me out to a farm, took all the kids out to a farm. It was like a year-end, field trip or whatever.
Right.
And there was a water gun fight, and a bunch of us teamed up on this girl, and we're treating this girl really bad and shooting her and stuff. And she was probably cute too. We're trying to flirt, but we were treating her really
Kids
poorly.
in 5th grade are fucking stupid. Anyways,
Yeah,
keep going.
they are. Yeah, yeah. But Mr. Pepic pulled me aside and he said, "Hey, man, I know the way that you see like men treat women at home. That's not how they're supposed to treat women in the real world. Like, men don't be mean to women." And it was just like this life, because I mean, my stepdad beat the crap out of my mom, beat the crap out of my sister, beat the crap out of me. What I saw was what I believed and what I thought. And to have a teacher pull me aside and say, like, "Hey, man, just because you see that as normal, it's not." And so there was just like all these little instances as I'm growing up, and like, this path is getting chose for me. I remember getting told, because my mom got knocked up at a young age, I was going to knock a girl up. And because my parents were alcoholics, I was in my DNA, I was going to be an alcoholic. And, for most of my life, I thought there was no choice. And I had these key people just constantly say, like, "No, you have a choice. Like, you have a say in what you're going to be." So that's, it was just impactful as hell.
That's one area where you and I have something in common, because now my mother wasn't an addict, but after she was divorced my father, she got involved with alcoholics, and there was one who was actually the birth father to my stepbrother, or half brother, and
Yeah.
he was everything that was wrong with the world. I mean, he and I were him. He would mentally, physically, verbally abuse my mother. I remember one time when he raised his hand to my grandmother. My grandmother was a saint of a woman, and but my mom, being the badass that she is, didn't take shit from anybody. And I remember one Thanksgiving where she literally impaled a salad fork into his hand, because
Oh, wow.
I mean, I don't recall exactly what led to it. I just remember it happening and it being like I don't want to say a defining moment, but one of those moments that makes you think, like, no matter how small you are, you're incredibly strong. And
Yeah.
the fact that I was raised in such an empathetic household, like, and the ability to feel was huge for me. It's still just like dealing with the abuse is horrible.
Yeah.
But at that time, like that the 5th grade teacher you had, you kind of get brought to this fork in the road where you can continue down the wrong way, or you can take the lessons that you've learned and the pain that you've experienced to allow you to progress forward in a positive direction.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm glad that you were one to proceed forward in a positive direction,
Yeah.
much
Yeah,
as
man.
myself, because I saw that and then I was like, that is, you don't just you don't treat people that way,
Yeah.
regardless
Yeah.
of how shitty you feel about yourself.
Yeah. No, for sure. For sure. 100% agree.
So 5th grade happens. What's next? What's next for Josh?
So, I mean, we moved around a lot. We moved around a tot. But it was like, I mean, I'm not talking like house to house. I'm talking, state to state, city to city. And it was always because of eviction. Went to Oklahoma through middle school. Actually got to go to the same middle school all 3 years. And then ended up in Kansas City. I mean, it was a lot of bad. I mean, it sucked. I remember in middle school, there was a huge defining moment for me, because it was something like I learned how to hide. So I learned how to story tell, which is funny, right? Like, I'm an animated speaker, like getting to do like paid speaking gigs and stuff. And I'm super animated because I had to like lie so much about like what was going on with my mom, what was going on with my dad, having to lie to the cops, all this kind of stuff. And I remember it was 7th grade. I'd been able to keep it a secret for most people. And one day my stepdad was beating the crap out of my mom in the middle of the day. And I kind of had enough, and I was a wrestler and I was working out at the time. And so I was able to catch him off guard and take him down and hold him down. And while I'm holding him there, I know if I let go, I'm in deep crap. And I get hit. I get hit from behind. Well, just because, a lot of times people are like, why don't kids fight back? Why don't they run away? There's a difference between adult strength and child strength. And like the fear that an adult can put on a kid, it's overwhelming. It's suffocating. It sucks, man. Like, it's
Right.
not like I didn't want to fight back. It's like standing on the edge of a cliff, it's terrifying. But
Right.
so I'm holding him down. I get hit from behind, and I'm kind of like startled, like, what the heck? And I turn around and my mom's hitting me with the chair. And I'm like, what in the world? And so I get up and they're both in my face now. And, here I'm trying to do the right thing. I'm trying to protect my mom, and this kind of backfires on me. And she runs out of the house drunk. And Kevin, my stepdad, says, like, you better go get her or else. And so I chase her, down the street trying to get her to come back. And she's yelling at me all these terrible things. And we get to a Quick Trip, the best gas station. I don't know where you're from. Quick Trips are the greatest gas stations ever.
Just outside Chicago. I've been to Quick Trips, man. They're all over Iowa, bro.
They're awesome. So we end up at a Quick Trip, and it's back in the day with a payphone. She's trying to like call her friends or something, and she's trying to get the payphone to work, and it won't. So she starts slamming the phone receiver into the phone and screaming and yelling and making a scene. And right then my wrestling coach walks outside, and I was like, oh no. And he's like, hey, Josh. And she turns and just unleashes, bile all over him, just, screaming, yelling, all this stuff. And he looks at me and we make eye contact. And I know at that moment, like, the facade is broken, like right. The emperor's naked, like, people are going to know my situation. And it was so sad, dude. It sucked for, a seventh grader to have to deal with that. And I would say it was kind of, it happened.
Much in common, bro.
Yeah, it sucked. And, there was a very, very similar situation. So that's why when I said I was one of those kinds of people, right? Because like word spread, and no disrespect to the coach, but like word spread. And then the same thing, like sophomore year, it happened again. And it was whenever a wrestling teammate was taking me home from practice, and he took me to the house, and there was chaos happening. And he said, quote, I should have known you were one of those kinds of people. And it just stuck with me that like so many people grow up in a situation that.
Right.
Yeah.
What does it mean by one of those kind of people? That's what I'm confused by.
Yeah, no. So he was a dick. Let's not sugarcoat that. He was a dick. You view someone that's grown. I mean, think about like getting told that your genetic disposition is to be an alcoholic, to be a drug addict, to be a violent temperament. All these kinds of things. You've grew up in survival mode. You're not going to thrive in a household where the parents stay together and they raise their kids right. and stuff like that. I mean, it's just not something you see. So in a lot of ways, I mean, I get it. Like, I am one of those kinds of people, but it doesn't mean you have to stay that way. Like I speak at a juvenile detention center pretty often. And I always tell those kids, like, hey, man, your past.
Man, that would be an incredible honor.
Dude, because people are like, how'd you get that? Call them up, man. Like, I mean, it just takes calling them up or emailing them, right. Call and email, a million of them. You'll get an opportunity. But I always tell them, like, your past doesn't dictate your future. Yesterday's pains don't have to be tomorrow's tears. And I was listening to that Tony Robbins documentary on Netflix. I don't know if you watched that. I'm Not Your Guru. And he says too many people live like biography is destiny. And I think like that's true. So like, it just doesn't have to be. And so like people listen to advice, people like stories, but I think like personal testimony is like the most powerful. And that's why like I try to talk open about it, because it's like not like, oh, my fish of pain is bigger than your fish of pain, but it's like you can overcome it,
Right.
Yeah. So,
and that's the entire reason that this exists, right? The Open Heart Collective exists because the only way that we get past something is to go through something.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And we've become this culture and this society or ecosystem around where we can constantly be on the offense, be hustling, always doing, grow. But we're never that way about how we are on the inside, right?
Yeah.
Our mind, our heart, like how we feel, we subdue that because it's not cool to talk about. We subdue it because, oh, nobody will understand. We subdue it because maybe we're fucking scared, right?
Yeah.
We subdue our own pain because we're like, nobody gives a fuck. Well, this
Yeah.
is the platform where we talk about that,
Yeah.
because I swear, if I have to do this single fucking handedly, I'm gonna end the times where I open up Facebook or Instagram and I read about losing somebody when it could have been avoided because of just fucking talking.
Yeah.
Like, I am tired of it, and I will
Yeah.
not shut up until my vocal cords are literally ripped from my fucking throat,
Yeah.
because it's the only way that we're going to get past it, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah. So I I mean, the only thing I would disagree with you on, or not disagree, but like, you've got to run through it or you got to run away from it. And so for me, so like my sophomore year going through that situation, there were multiple times where I ran away and came back and whatever. But my sophomore year, I started going to like a church because of like when I mentioned an ex-girlfriend's parents
right,
that cared about me, like they brought me to church and started getting connected there, and was able to move out of my house in with the youth pastor and his
nice,
family. Huge opportunity. And so to a lot of people, I say, like, you have to be willing to like leave everything to pursue your health, your wellness, that kind of stuff. You
right,
can't hold on to drowning people. And like, I'm better able now to help people having helped myself first. So that's the only thing is sometimes, they're like, hey man, I can't leave my mom. I can't leave my sisters. I can't, dude, you have to. Like sometimes you absolutely have to. I mean, I have
right.
three younger sisters that were in that situation. It sucks royally that I had to leave that and they had to go through it, alone with just them. But too many people try to be superhero, man, and I think that also leads to like depression, anxiety, maybe suicide. Is like trying to be too much. Like,
Yeah.
if you need help, talk. If you need counselors, talk. You know what I mean? Like, so I don't know. That's the only thing I would add to that is go through it or run the hell away really fast. Um,
The only reason I say to go through it now, but you didn't run away because you'd already gone through it, right? So for you,
yeah,
it
I could.
wasn't
I mean, I
running
could have
away.
kept. Yeah,
It
yeah,
was temporarily removing yourself so that you could grow,
yeah,
and
yeah,
in order to become stronger, so that you could go back and then you could take care of what needed to be taken care of.
yeah, yeah,
But yeah, I
for
don't.
sure.
And this came up in Tuesday night's episode where I said, all right, you have to be happy, like find your happiness. Well,
Hmm.
Catherine was polite enough to disagree with me and says, no, you have to just allow yourself to feel whatever that is. But what's important about allowing yourself to feel is allowing yourself to know when to correct the feeling,
Yeah,
right? So if you're hurting, let yourself hurt. Like, I lost last fall, I lost my uncle, and it was really tragic. He was in roofing, and he was 76 years old, and he was working on a roof one day and fell off and landed on his head and
mm,
never got back up.
mm,
But which it was weird. That was probably one of the most emotional like times, because I didn't get I didn't understand why I was so emotional, because I had lost my stepfather earlier in the year, alcohol, and it was just so weird that I was more emotional with my uncle than I was with prior, because
yeah,
it was. And I still don't guess I guess I still don't understand why, but I allowed myself to feel it, and it was so liberating in a weird way.
mm,
But
yeah,
um, I think we block ourselves from feeling.
yeah. Well, and I think like going on to your point is like you think like, man, there's so much. Like, listen, okay, so I'm going to talk about every all my opinions are only my own, so I'm not trying to discredit people. Like, I'm very pragmatic. Like, hey man, if it works for you, I'm kind of cool with it.
Right.
Like, I know I'll give my thoughts and stuff, but what I mean is like this whole like your best life now and everything's great, and there's just all these books that like are you're enough, you're good. And I'm like, man, you're not. It sucks and it's hard and it hurts. And like, but that's okay in the
Right.
sense of like, you kind of gotta go through it. And I mean, I'm not saying don't run over, remove yourself or go through it. It's just like people are kind of shocked. Like I almost feel like it's whenever people are like talking about like startups and entrepreneurship, it's just like life. It's like, man, I went to a business meeting, got $1 million, bitches, what? And it's like, it's not like that, man. Like it's hard as hell. It's a grind. And that's life. If you want to have a meaningful life, a meaningful relationship, meaningful engagements, like, dude, it's painful. It's hard. Like you don't get there without it.
Right.
And it's like, so like just because you're sad and just because things are hard doesn't mean you're bad,
Right.
I don't know. I don't know.
I mean, we're both entrepreneurs here, so we can have this conversation. And I mean, originally this was going to be geared towards musicians and entrepreneurs anyways, because it's the circles that I run in.
Yeah.
But now it's just
Yeah.
generally about being a human. But let's talk about being an entrepreneur for a second. It
Yeah.
sucks. Like it's fucking terrifying. Nobody gets it other than fellow entrepreneurs, and sometimes not even
Yeah.
them. And
Yeah.
you're alone a
Yeah.
lot. It's a
Yeah.
lot of time in front of a fucking computer screen, in front of a
Mhm.
phone, in front of people that honestly don't give a fuck about you or your product or your service, but are
Yeah.
placating you because they feel bad and they want to give you that little attaboy, that little push along. But being an entrepreneur is fucking terrible.
Yeah. Yeah. We do some consulting and stuff, and I tell people, I mean, I think there's only like maybe two that I've told to move forward with it. Everybody else that's pitched startup ideas, I told them don't, like that it was going to crush
Right.
them. They weren't ready. They weren't equipped. And I don't think I was ready or equipped. I mean,
I
it,
definitely wasn't.
so yeah, I mean, so volunteering at that juvenile detention center. So I was an electrician. I became an electrician, um, and excelled, got into a good company that valued hard work, that valued, attitude and then ambition. So usually you go through a 4-year apprenticeship program and you're a licensed journeyman. And then once you're a licensed journeyman, you can become a foreman and run jobs. Well, when I was a 2nd-year apprentice, I started running jobs because I was like hustling. I was just balls deep in it, loved it. And learned all these skills and advanced well and kept advancing and kept advancing. Long story short, I started traveling all over the country for them, doing these jobs. And I'm in this airplane, and while I'm in the airplane, I'm writing in a journal, like a moleskin or whatever. And I'm like, man, I love to speak. I love to tell my story, but I don't want to necessarily share it at a church or something like that. I want to speak at a
Right.
juvie hall. Land the plane, take my phone off airplane mode. No joke. This lady says, hey, this is so and so. I know we haven't talked in years, but I'm volunteering at a juvenile detention center. Was wondering if you'd give an Easter message. That was kind of where I got the open door to go and speak, and did it for about 3 years, every week, every Wednesday. And while
Right.
there, really connected with them, really inspired them. And then when they would get out, I would kind of do like a big brothers, big sisters mentorship with them also. And most of them, every kid, man, would say the biggest fear was finding a job, finding employment. And so, people had been talking to me about starting my own company, and the high risk, high reward meant nothing to me. My name meant nothing to me. Notice it's not Josh's Electric, Levin's Electric, JL Electric. Like these are like common names that are like all over the place.
Right.
Not common names, but people name it their name. And
Right.
so finally one day I'm talking to this kid named Josh, and he just said, like, straight up, if I don't find a job in the next week, I'm going to go back to running drugs because we're about to get evicted, and I'll go back to selling drugs before I see my sister get evicted again. And when he said
Right.
sister, it kind of resonated with me because of my, I have 4 sisters. And I was like, that's it. And I literally within that week, like, went my I was able to cash out, and I was like, I got 5 weeks to figure out how to make a bigger impact. And so Empower Electric was born in that, about empowering people through electric opportunity. And within 5 weeks, sold my first job, started running like hell, and would just sell, and then, hire a guy on and sell, and hire a guy on and sell, and hire a guy on, and work 16, 20 hours, 6 days a week, just brutal nonstop. But the passion was there. So I always say, like, the business statement of Empowered Electric is to homophobic, that aren't, all these kinds of negative bigotry that's out there. We're in it together. And we always say that we hire and fire way more about attitude and ambition than skill and experience. 100%. It was funny. We were on this one time, I got asked a question like, how'd you create such an amazing culture? And I said, dude, I didn't create this culture, but I'm sure as hell protecting it, and I think as an entrepreneur, that's a big role of mine, of yours.
It's of all of ours. I mean, that very, very similar to you. I was in jobs. I mean, I worked dead end jobs all the time. The last dead end job I was in was not the job, but I would end up in environments that weren't conducive to personal growth.
Mm-hmm.
That were very top down, mandate, you do this because I fucking pay you.
Yeah.
And they weren't open to change. They weren't open to new ideas, new thoughts. Like, they were very old. And I mean, I grew up in the manufacturing world, Midwest. Like, this is what you do. You work in a fucking factory and you punch your clock, 8 to 5 or 8 to 8 or whatever it was. And then you retired 40 years later.
Yeah.
I did that because that's what you do, but I hated it. And I don't even use that word. Like, if you guys watched earlier or Tuesday's episode, that's my least favorite word in all of America, in all of English language, is hate. But that's how much I despised that type of environment.
Yeah.
And because you would see just how people would get treated, and you're just like, that's not right.
Yeah.
Like I understand, like, there's rules and you have to follow the rules, and I get that, but it still just didn't feel right that you had to put up with somebody who didn't care about you.
Yeah.
All the time.
Yeah, it sucks. I mean, I can understand. I mean, let's be honest, it would be way easier as a boss to not care. It would be way easier to not give a crap, to view people as number, to view them as profit percentages, all those kinds of things. That's just not how I'm going to choose to live my life. That's not how I'm going to choose to run this company. No way. And so it's just funny because, like, guys will be like, to build morale, we should learn all our people's wife's name. And I'm like, bitch, I know all my guys' wife's name and their kids' names. Like, what do you mean? Like, I go on double dates with them. I hang out with them. Like, I care about them. Like, it sucks when I fire them. I've had to fire a lot of guys, and I've one of the last guys I fired, I was pissed. I was so mad because, like, it was actually a kid from the juvie hall, and he had worked for us for about a year. And man, I was like so thrilled, and he was doing so well, and he slowly started to resort more and more to his past behavior. And I was like, dude, stop, like, gave him like 30 chances. And finally I was just like, dude, you screwed up. Like, you just lost the best job you might ever have. Like, there's not a person that's rooting for you more than me. And not that I would never hire him back or anything, but it was just like, it sucked, and like the ability, I wish sometimes I had the ability to turn it off and not feel, but nah, it's not what we're going to do here. So yeah, I mean, you can inspire people or you can demand people. And, like, I don't know. I want to inspire people,
Right.
So yeah, but it's been fun, man. So like I said at the beginning, like, it's a phrase we say a lot. Like, we want to be the company that people want to work for, not have to work for. So I was sitting with there's been a couple guys that we have fired, and it's funny. Like, they said, both of them said, I didn't realize it. They said, well, you need me. And I said, hey man, I don't need you. And it's not like we've all been at companies that say, like, we existed long before you and we'll be here long after you, and you're just a number. Everybody's replaceable. And I try not to say that. Like, everybody's replaceable, but at a cost. But I just said to him, dude, hey, I don't need you, but I want you. I want you to want to be here, just like you don't need us. Like, if you quit or get fired, you're going to find a different job. Like, you're going to figure it out. Like, we're not Jesus. You're safe. And they both had that attitude of, like, you can't fire us. And we were like, yeah, like, yeah, we can. And we were fine. And I mean, it sucked. I mean, they were good electricians. That's what's funny is we only like fire good electricians that have dick attitudes. Yeah, it's weird. So
Right. So let's talk about being a boss real quick, because
yeah,
that plagues on you. Like you and I definitely are on like a very, very similar
yeah,
wavelength, because I toil over having to let my artists go, having to let interns or staff go. Like I like
yeah,
it hurts me almost on a physical level to have to let people
yeah,
go, because it's like
yeah,
this everything that's happened, everything that's been built, the network, the like I call it my spider web. Like everything's been built because of all these amazing people, whether they're still here or otherwise. And
yeah,
like
yeah,
it hurts sometimes to be a boss.
yeah. Well, I think one of the, and that's why I say inspiration is so important. Is it was funny. I was talking to somebody today, and they give me compliments, and I do hate whenever you give somebody a compliment, and they're like, "Don't thank me." It happens a lot in like churches. You're like, "Hey, that was a really good sermon," and they're like, "Don't thank me, thank God." And you're like, "All right, Dick. I was just saying you did a good job. You held my attention. Like don't be a weirdo. Just say thanks.
Right.
But the best thing that I did, man, is I rallied great people. So like we took a massive pay cut to start this. We've made money since day one, though. That's where I would disagree with a lot of entrepreneurs that are like, haven't made money in 2 years. I'm like, man,
7.
I made money day one. Like you gotta make money somehow, man. Like I was a single income, so it was like I would work 8 hours, billable hours, and I mean I had a skill that I could sell that people needed. But I would sorry, where was I going with that? Oh, I'd rally people. And so like I mean, we're pretty freaking awesome. And it's not because of me. I mean, we have arguably like three of the best electricians in Kansas City. We guarantee have two of the best project managers in the city. We're a 25 guy shop. Like we have 20, a
Right.
little over 20 electricians. Like there's no reason we should be so top heavy when it comes to skill. And guys, like one of the best electrician in Kansas City, hands down, came to work here, and his previous company offered him a $12 an hour raise to stay, and he still turned it down. Yeah, $12, and did not. And here's what's even crazier: so turned down the $12 an hour raise, and still came to work for us, and didn't ask for a dollar more. Like that was the thing. It wasn't like a leverage ploy to try to get more from us. He was
Wow.
100% on board. And I think that's like what people don't realize is like you can't demand that kind of attitude. You can
Right.
inspire that kind of attitude. You can't demand it. And so like as a boss, dude, honestly, like so we it's funny, like the boss gets all the credit. And so, a lot of times I get invited to like these meet and greets or these like super fancy things. Like we do a lot of restaurants and stuff. And the last restaurant we
Right.
did, it was awesome. It was like so cool. And it's in Kansas City, so best barbecue in the world. And they said, "Hey, we want to invite you and your wife." No, it's definitely the best barbecue. Like you can edit out whatever you're thinking is better, but it's not.
I'm just giving a hard time, man. I love
Uh,
barbecue though. So
yeah. But anyways, we were like, "Hey, man, I'm not going to go to this unless the foreman can go and all the apprentices." And long story short, we were able to roll in there with like six of our guys and their significant others. So there's like 12 people that were involved
nice.
in the project. It wasn't just me and my wife. You know what I mean? It was all of us. And I think little things like that go a long way to show like you're not just, anybody who wants to start a company because they want the entrepreneur lifestyle they can screw off. That want to just like take selfies on the beach and stuff. Like that's so damn frustrating because it's like I tell my guys it's like, "Hey, I want to like buy a Tesla when you guys think I should deserve a Tesla." I guarantee you these guys continue to get the opportunity and the raises like they've got, for the first 3 years. 20 years from now, they're going to be cool if I'm on the beach or if I'm buying a Tesla, like guaranteed, because they're going to be taken
Right.
care of. You know what I mean? I
Right.
can't be buying a lake house when they're getting evicted. Like,
Right.
um, so
And that's what makes life so amazing, because that's where I guess that's where you and I differ when it comes to entrepreneurship. I spent the first 7 years giving everything away.
yeah, that's crazy.
but I had day jobs. I was able to make it work. It just, I mean, I grew up in a very religious house. You just gave.
Yeah.
And now I'm getting to the point where I've earned clout to the point where I can actually, I mean, I'm building a team around an agency
Yep.
to build
Yeah.
up and actually create sustainable business practices for
Yeah.
small and mid-sized companies, as well as
Yeah.
individual personal brands,
Yeah.
because I've literally been doing that from day one.
Yeah. But so
And
you had a day job. You had a day job
oh yeah,
and you were doing this like
oh yeah.
as a side hustle. So
But
I
it
would
was
say that
but
that's
it was a 40 and 40 kind of thing. It was like I was always working, and I still am.
yeah. I just mean the people. So like so the reason I say this and I'm huge about this is when I started Empowered Electric, there was about six guys I knew that also started. Like one started a framing company, one started a painting company, two others were electricians. And so there was like a group of us that were kind of like, yeah, startup. All of them have gone out of business. Not one of them is still in business, and I have 25 employees. We went from $300,000 in revenue our first year, 1.8 million our second year, to 3.8 last year, all while continuing to grow profit margins. So, I mean, this is something like I know that we can succeed at. They all had the
Right,
attitude of, well, you don't make money for the first couple years. It was their full-time thing. It was their only source of income. They weren't doing a different job, getting paid, and then trying
right,
like you have to make money. If you don't make money, you're gonna give up. Like, um, now I didn't have a job and kickstart a side hustle. Like, and I don't mean that in a negative way. Like, there's different
oh, I
ways.
know.
Just like there's people that like get big ass loans to start it. Like that's a different way. Like I didn't do that. I'm not against it. It's just they're able to do things differently. Like I use the free Dropbox account. They have Dropbox business, like I
Right.
have broken cell phones for a year and a half. They have all the new tech because they have startup funds. I don't. Like it's just different. You know what I mean? So,
And for me, with how I grew up
mhm.
and the life that I had, I am so glad I went through it the way that I did, because it's allowed me to go into any circumstance and say, look what I've built with next to nothing.
Yeah.
Give me a
Yeah.
little bit of something and watch what I can do.
Yeah. No, that is awesome.
And that, for a confidence boost, when we're talking about self-awareness and what it actually takes, like, I know that this stuff's not easy. And I
Yeah.
mean, but I also know that every single thing I've done has led up to now.
Yeah.
And
Oh
even
yeah.
even this even this fucking show, because I've spent almost the last decade creating incredible relationships and helping people.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and but I mean, I started in the music business. The music business, unlike what you do, didn't have tangible value. Like,
Mhm.
you can't hire me to do a job, then turn around and pay. Like,
Yeah.
it doesn't, like, it didn't
Yeah.
work that way.
Yeah.
And but I'm so glad I've gone through it the way that I have.
Yeah.
I'm so glad I get to connect and have dope ass hour-long conversations with inspiring people like you.
Yeah.
And because the whole mission of this, man, is to change one person's life. If one
Yeah.
person hears this and is able to make their lives better because of it, like, that's a win for me.
Yeah.
That
For
that
sure.
is everything that I want with this. Now, for those of you who are listening to this or watching this and are maybe going through something and you're not sure how to get out, I'm gonna say this for myself. I'm not gonna speak for Josh. I'll let Josh speak for himself. Please reach out. If you don't want to reach out to me, there's amazing resources, and I'm actually in the process of designing my website at philbrianblock.com. And
Yeah.
on there, it's going to have a lot of resources for people, because I know there's no one unified source for resources to seek help, and they can be hard to find. I want to be a resource. I want to help. So call me.
Yeah.
I mean, Josh, you know this. My fucking
Yeah.
cell phone number is in my profile, just
Yeah.
like yours is.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I love it. I love being accessible. So if you're going through something, if you're struggling, I don't care what it is. Call me. I'm an ear to listen.
Yeah.
And hopefully I can offer some guidance. If I can't, I can definitely point you in the right direction.
Yeah. I've been a huge fan of, do you know about To Write Love on Our Arm? Jamie Torinsky.
Jamie, I love,
Yeah.
like, Jamie's been a huge inspiration.
Yeah. No, but I mean, they're a great resource. I really enjoy a lot of their stuff. But yeah, I mean, I don't know what I would say to people that are struggling and hurting, because I mean, it's so like, I don't know. I mean, I don't know why you're hurting. I don't know what the
And it,
pain is.
and honestly, Josh, though, it's really not about what to say to somebody who's
Hmm.
hurting. It's
Yeah.
about simply listening.
Yeah.
Because more often than not, if you're struggling, just like I struggle, I mean, I struggle with depression and
Hmm.
suicide
Yeah.
for 12 years. Like, this is not easy stuff. And
Yeah.
oftentimes it's straight up, you just need somebody who can listen to you. Just
Yeah.
somebody to pour everything that you're feeling out. And when you get it out, even if it's only for a night, you feel better.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I definitely agree with that. I definitely agree with that. I also would say, though, you do need to hear good resources. So it's like,
oh yeah.
whether it's Jamie Torinsky, whether it's like, dude, so I don't know how you're going to take this, but I got a bunch of buddies and like had
Oh,
suicide attempts and things like that. It was brutal. But you, I always say, shit, I lost my train of thought there. Um, it sucks. It's hard, but like, you got to get the hell up, man. You can't stay there. Like, it does take work. It does take. Oh, I know. I was gonna say, depressed people, stop listening to depressing music. All that emo, indie, alternative rock nonsense that's sad. I love it. I love it, but not when I'm sad. When I'm sad, I'm turning on freaking Uptown Funk, Justin Timberlake, like something like poppy, peppy. Let's go Beyonce. Like, so it's like sad people get together and listen to sad music. Stop that nonsense. So
I don't
only
know,
thing I
dude.
don't like about
You're speaking to a forever emo kid right now. Like, it for me, it's allowing myself to feel, right? So,
yeah, yeah,
but everybody and their music taste is different. So, like, mad respect, bro. Like, you gotta do you. If you're down and listening to like fucking
yeah,
Dallas Green get you even more down, definitely don't. But for me, it's
yeah.
cathartic. Like,
Oh,
that's why
I don't know how.
this entire content series, like, I mean, we've talked about
Yeah,
some dark shit over these last 18 episodes and
yeah,
painful stuff. I'm just uniquely wired to be able to handle it all.
yeah, yeah. I'm just saying,
So,
if you're thinking about suicide, don't listen to Adam's song by Blink 182. Like,
right,
don't do it.
right.
Listen to Britney Spears. Or
That's
something. I don't know.
that's an entire. I mean, listen to Roland. Let's shout out Roland, man. Like, come on. I mean, this kid, fucking mad
I have
respect,
not listened to him yet. I have not listened to him yet. I need
dude.
to.
You're in the Gary V world and you have not listened to Roland yet. Come on.
So I love Gary Vee. I've taken like a 6 month, I can't handle him for a little while
Me too.
sabbatical. Like, I need a little break. So good. Love it. What am I listening to right now? I'm listening to Andy Frisella, the MF CEO. Started listening to his stuff quite a bit. And Russell Brand, the comedian, has a podcast called Beneath
Oh,
the
he's fucking
Skin.
brilliant.
Yeah, I did not know that. So I've been listening to that a lot. Those two a lot. And
All
Joe
right.
Rogan. So
I honestly don't listen to a lot of stuff.
yeah,
But you
I
guys
do
got to
while I'm
find
driving.
you got to find your escape. For me,
Yep.
it's always been music. I
Yeah.
love finding new stuff. Like, I'm actually Monday. I'm launching my new Apple Music playlist feature every Monday. I'm dropping a new playlist. I'm just excited to be doing something new and more with music and incorporating some of the record label with just some of the shit that I love. And I don't know, music's my life. But
I love it. I just love rap.
Oh, dude, it was hip hop that brought me back to the music business. Like,
that's hilarious.
Straight up fucking hip hop that got me back. It was funny too because I was a punk rock kid, man. Like fucking mohawk and everything. And fucking hilarious though. Like I have no pictures from back in that day. But like I don't. I'm sure friends from back in the day have pictures, but I was too busy living. I wasn't documenting anything back then. But it's amazing what we get to do. Like this whole thing started because of social media. And this is how we take social media and make it work positively for people. Like,
for sure.
Mad respect for you and what you've done with Empowered Electric. Like, seriously, you are doing something that is so incredibly compelling, and I'm straight up honored to be taking up an hour of your Friday night. By the way, happy belated birthday! I know your birthday was last week. But
appreciate it.
This is the next. This is what happens next, man. This is the way that we can put positivity out into the universe and allow it to be a safe place for people to share. So hit me up
for sure.
If bro, if you ever need a pick me up or just somebody to listen. I know you got a bunch of people, but straight up anytime I'm here.
Sometimes.
I
appreciate that.
Yeah. And then to everybody else, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. This will be available on Sunday night on all the podcasting platforms as well as YouTube. And this will be shared to Instagram later tonight. Because I hit 10K this week and I can do the fancy swipe up feature. And I'm fucking excited.
Yeah.
But,
so it's funny, there's two things in my life, two goals, right? So I want to be able to do a muscle up. You know, that's like the pull up where you pull yourself up and CrossFitters push themselves up. The second I do that, I'm done working out. Like I made it. I did one muscle up, I'm done. Second I hit 10,000 followers and I can swipe up, I'm done with Instagram. Like I made it.
No, see, I'm not done. This is just the beginning.
I'm done. I'm going to swipe up.
Oh, I lost you.
Oh, no, nothing. I was just making a joke.
It
was a really good joke.
Right?
I'm going to swipe up and then throw my phone. I'm just going to like mic drop. It's done. So yeah, this was fun. Thanks for making it happen. Thanks for consistently doing it. I'm sure it's hard to just continue to do this. So good job.
It's not easy, but nothing in life that's ever easy or ever worth it comes easy. So I'm in it for the long haul, man. This is 100% about legacy and about leaving an impact bigger than what one would thought possible at 4th grade, 5th grade, 6th grade, high school. So
love it.
Cool. Tell the people real quick where they can find out more information about you and where they can find out more information. I'm obviously going to include links, but and where they can find out about Empowered Electric.
KC, so EMPOWERED KC. That's also our Twitter handle. That's also our Facebook. It's also our website, empoweredkc.com. We're launching a podcast a month from now, kind of telling the 10 stories leading up to Empowered Electric, probably like a little mini series.
Nice.
But yeah, man, hit us up on Instagram. We have some dope shirts.
I want to get one of those.
Yeah. So what's fun is like, and I should have shouted that out. I'll send you one for sure. But all the proceeds go into a scholarship fund that when we hire electricians that maybe can't buy all the tools needed to start the job, we're able to use that money to give it to them to help get the tools needed. They start, they payroll deduct, pay it back. And we take that money at the.
You don't need to send me one. I'm gonna I'll straight up fucking buy one because I want to support that shit. So
and it's fun. Then we give all that money at the end of the year to a charity. So it's fun for sure. Yeah.
Awesome.
Cool.
Thank you, everybody. Stay tuned on Monday for next week's announcement of my special guest. Season 2 has started off with a fucking bang, and I cannot wait for the next weeks of or next weeks and months of content as the series progresses. And from the bottom of my heart, to everybody who has
Yeah.
taken part in this, watches it, listens to it, thank you so much. Each and every one of you, Matt, mean the world to me, because I mean, you have a lot bigger, better things to do with your life and your time than to spend an hour listening to people talk about what they've dealt with for their life. But I love you for taking the time out. In the meantime, my friends, have a great weekend. And as I end every single video, have fun, be happy, and also hard. But remember, if you're not living the first two, there's no amount of the third that can make the first two happen. And then take some time to breathe. So until the next time, guys, see you.